Hey, all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm Darren, I'm your host, and today I got another great guest, Mr. Gary Bixler. He is the owner and creator of a great sauce called the Farm Sauce, and we're going to talk to him, see how he created it, and where he's marketing it. I'll be right back with Gary Bixler of the Farm Sauce.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter. Sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Hey, all, I want to welcome back Inkbird Products as a sponsor of the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Inkbird makes many great different temperature controllers, thermometers, all kinds of time and temp controllers. But one of the best things that they make is their new sous vide circulator that includes Wi-Fi, 1,000 watts of power, and super quiet at a really affordable price. It's one of my top picks for a budget sous vide circulator for people who are just getting started. Make sure you check it out in the link below. Check out Inkbird. Welcome back, Inkbird Products, to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm Darren. I'm your host, of course, as always, and I have another great guest with me today. One of my series where I take some small business entrepreneurs and give them some time, and especially ones that I like to use. This is Gary Bixler. He is the owner and creator of the Farm Sauce, which is, I don't want to call it a barbecue sauce. I want to call it an overall type sauce. But Gary, welcome to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know where you are and where you're from.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And my name is Gary Bixler. I'm here in Roswell, Georgia. I've been up here about 35 years, originally from South Florida, your neck of the woods, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And grew up down there, spent first 30 years of my life there, and got married, kids and all, and moved up here and been up here ever since. And we've liked it a lot up here. The area's grown quite a bit over the last 35 years.
Yeah, I almost ended up in living up around Blue Ridge. I about I think it was maybe 8 or 10 years ago. I almost bought a cabin rental company up there, but I was down to actually sign in the papers. But like the night before we were supposed to close on it, I found a bunch of stuff that was undisclosed that was going to cost me a lot more money, and we were already like dumping all our life savings into it, so we backed out at the last minute after selling our house and everything, and hightailed it back to Florida. So I wasn't going to put my wife and kids through that and end up divorced and bankrupt, so I ended up actually working out pretty good anyway. So our lives kind of turned around a little bit after that. But so you grew up in South Florida, which I started out in upstate New York, but I went through high school and all that in Fort Lauderdale area. And we had talked about that before. You went to Pinecrest, and I was over in Northeast High. So you were kind of in the semi-private school there, and I was in the.
Yes.
So,
no, there was nothing semi about it. It was
over.
So, I had gone all my life to public school though, through Sunrise and Fort Lauderdale High School, and the teachers went on strike that year in 1967, and my father panicked, pulled us out, or got us into Pinecrest, and I spent the last 3 years in high school at Pinecrest.
Now, I arrived there in '79, so you were probably gone from there by the time I started. So
I was gone and back already. I got married in '79 in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, so that's when I moved there from New York. So I spent '79 to '89 down in South Florida, and then I moved over here to the Tampa area in '89, and I've been here ever since. Which I kind of like it a little better. It's a little bit more laid back. Not as many New Yorkers over here. As more Midwesterns on this side. Florida's a funny state where one side that goes by the interstates. So I-95 goes all the way up to Maine and New York. So all those people tend to drive straight down to that side of Florida, and then I-75 goes up to Chicago and Ohio and all that. So all the Midwestern people drive down I-75 and kind of supplant down here on this side. So it's always been kind of funny to me the way Florida is that way. But I love it, and I love North Georgia as well. And So let's kind of talk about your original career, because this, you didn't start out, with selling the farm sauce.
No, you did not.
We're going to get into the farm sauce and what it is and how you developed it. But so what did you do originally for those time before?
Spent close to 40 years, 38 years in medical device sales, both as a sales rep, as a manager, national sales manager, VP of sales for a variety of companies over that period of time. And I literally traveled all around the country running sales forces, and gave me a good background from a selling standpoint to get into something like this, budgeting and business planning, things of that nature. But I was a real good client of Delta Airlines for a long time.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've been in banking, but I've been on the sales side. I deal with all the car dealers throughout the country and state.
Okay.
So that's what I've done for 30 years. So I'm an outside sales. So I go around to the car dealers and try to get them to use our products. And so, that's what I've been doing. So, sales background and what you're doing, and even from what I do, because I have to sell to my audience and sell to sponsors and all that. So you always got to have some kind of good sales background in order to sometimes chase what you love. So you've done that all your career. So I guess you kind of retired from that, and that's when you started the farm sauce.
Well, about 3 years ago, retired and played a little golf, not much, and just it came to be very clear that even though you retire from one thing, you can't retire from doing something. And the farm sauce has been in our family for a long time. And it's one of those things that people have been telling me for years, you need to market this, you need to sell it. I thought people were just being nice, being kind. And I finally I said, I don't want to get to the end of my life and wish that I'd done this. And that was a big motivator.
So I'm going to pull it up on the screen there so people can see what we're talking about. So the farm sauce. So this is your product now, and I've sampled this. I have my son. I was telling you before we started recording today, my son loves this stuff, and he will dump it on anything. And that's why I didn't want to really call it a barbecue sauce, because it really can go on pretty much anything.
Right. It's very versatile.
It's not a sweet sauce at all. It's very savory, and it's got a horseradishy type kick. And I kind of compare it to like the Alabama white chicken barbecue sauce.
Some similarities there, yes.
But it's a little bit more savory and a little bit more...
there's a different depth to it, I think.
Yeah, and a different mouthfeel to it as well, because it's not mayonnaise based and doesn't have a lot of vinegar to it like the Alabama's type sauce does. So where did you get you said this recipe has been in your family for a long time.
Yeah, it... kind of a neat story. We, again, being in South Florida back in the 60s, it had not grown anywhere near to where it is today, obviously. And my father, he was a veterinarian in Fort Lauderdale. He's an old country boy from Ohio. And when we were very young, he bought 10 acres of land on the outside western part of Fort Lauderdale, which is now Coral Springs in Parkland. Back then, it was basically strictly Everglades. So he got the 10 acres. He liked horses, so he acquired some horses. And you need somebody to take care of horses, even when you're there. If you're not there, they still need to be fed. So he came across a fellow named Mr. Raylan, who was an honest-to-God Central Florida cowboy. And most of the cowboys, folks don't know historically, came from Florida originally. Florida is one of the biggest cattle-producing states in the country, and had a lot of cowboys up in the central part, and that's where Mr. Raylan was from. He came down and lived at the farm with his wife. He was kind of retired, and we would have farm parties, as we called them. And he asked my father, he said, would you mind if I make up a sauce here and cook up some ribs for your friends? Go ahead. And he would put 40 pounds of ribs on a big outside grill that he put together, mix up 5 or 6 gallons of the farm sauce, and with a mop, literally just baste these things for hours and hours. These were St. Louis ribs. We didn't have baby backs back then. And just hours and hours of basting the ribs, turning them. People loved this sauce, and they would go crazy for it. It was very unique. And the next time we would have a party, the first thing they would ask is, Mr. Raylan going to make that farm sauce? So they named it, and that's how it got its name. as time went on, Mr. Raylan passed on, but before that, he gave the recipe to my father, and my father gave it to me, and I've been making it for 40 years of my adult life, and family and friends and that kind of thing. And that brought us to where we are here today of wanting to bring it out to the public, finding out if there was a market for it. So that's what.
So is that his picture or his?
That's a rendition.
A rendition of what he looked like in your memory.
Exactly. It's funny with today's phones and everything, how many pictures we take, but we had Polaroids back then and some Kodak Instamatics, and we didn't take a lot of pictures. So I desperately tried to find a picture of Mr. Raylan. Could not find one. This is my recollection of him. My nephew, who's a very talented artist down in South Florida, created the picture on my input, and I think it's a great likeness of him. Quite frankly, it looks a little bit like Robert Duvall, but that's what Mr. Raylan looked like. He was the real deal. He was not a Roy Rogers type of cowboy. He was a man of few words, and I can always remember his hands being just totally scarred up from riding horses, cattle, roping, and all that. And he was a good-sized man too, but very quiet. And he just had this sauce and loved making it for folks. So that's what's brought us here today.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand how many ranchers and how many ranches and cattle businesses in Florida. It's not
huge.
Not just oranges, that's for sure. I mean, still today, there's tons of cattle ranches around, especially in the center of the state. So there's a lot of. I mean, some of the more wealthy people in the state of Florida were cattle ranchers, like Ben Hill Griffith.
Exactly.
Most of his money came from real estate, and he had all kinds of livestock. He had all kinds of farms, not just citrus. So there's
no. Yeah. Mormon Church is one of the largest cattle owners in the state of Florida.
So it's so when you had the sauce, it's it sounds like the way he used it, he mopped it like you would see. Like North Carolina, like whole hog, where they mop, or even in Texas where they kind of mop. But have you ever seen or heard or tasted any other kind of sauce similar to this?
No, and that's what I've been a barbecue freak, if you will, for a long, long time. Being raised in the South and spending all my life in the South, and traveling all around the country, Texas, Fort Worth. Kansas City, and sampling different types. I was always kind of partial to the mustard-based Carolina type sauces, and a little more vinegar, a little more mustard. But when I'd always come back to the farm sauce, the active ingredient in this thing is horseradish. And we put a lot of horseradish in this sauce, and we use fresh root horseradish. My bottler looked long and hard to find it, because before we brought it out, I was telling people that if I can't duplicate the taste that I can get in the kitchen, making it from the recipe, I'm not going to bring it out. I mean, if it's too sweet, if it doesn't have that horseradish kick to it, we're just not going to go with it, because that to me is what makes it unique. And after 20 months now selling it, that is the comment that comes through loud and clear from people, is the unique flavor of that horseradish. Along with the other ingredients that are mixed in with it, but that horseradish does dominate it.
Yeah, but it's not a really overpowering horseradish taste. Like if you got like a horseradish spread that you could buy at the store, to put on your sandwich, it's not very, that burning sensation that you get from some of the, overpowering. I would say it's actually a nice mellow horseradish taste. It's there and you can taste it, but it's not.
Well, that's
going to hit you over the head. I mean,
it's interesting you bring that up, because the original recipe from Mr. Raylan was as you described, the horseradish. You would be crying, literally tears would be coming out of your mouth while you're chewing on ribs, but you're not stopping eating the ribs. I can tell you so many times people would say, "I hate horseradish in this," and you couldn't get the rib out of their hand.
Right.
But when I went to market, or was coming to market and doing research, I talked to a lot of barbecue people, and I have to say this industry has been amazing for the support, the ideas, the camaraderie of literally welcoming a competitor into it has been phenomenal, and got a lot of great advice from people. And they said, "Well, this is a unique sauce with this horseradish. You've got to find a way to balance it, because everybody's not going to want to cry while they're eating ribs.
Sure.
So I did a lot of experimenting with dark molasses, and there is some dark molasses in there that balances out that horseradish. You still feel it. You can taste the horseradish, but it is not that burning horseradish flavor that you get from raw root horseradish.
Right.
Now, when we make it, we have to have masks on because
it'll make makes your nose run. Yeah.
Oh, your nose, your eyes. You have to walk outside. If you don't have a mask on, you got to walk outside for fresh air. But then when we blend all the other ingredients in, that settles it down, and that seems to be the flavor that people really, really like. And we didn't have to sacrifice the horseradish identity, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Well, that's the thing I like about the sauce the most is that it is unique. It's different. It's not a, okay, I'm a famous barbecue guy and I stuck my name on a sweet barbecue sauce, and then there's a spicy barbecue sauce, and then there's a mustard barbecue sauce, and then there's, it's not that at all. It's something totally different and unique that you can't really find anywhere else. And like I said, I've had plenty. People send me, samples of their barbecue sauce all the time because they, everybody and their brother that's done anything in barbecue thinks that because they won a regional or a local barbecue competition, they now are the authority and they can make their own rubs and their own sauces and market it. And pretty much they're all, very similar. I mean, they all got molasses in them. They all got, ketchup based or they're mustard based, or, the Eastern Carolina one's the easiest one because it's vinegar and peppers and, a couple other, and some, powdered mustard. And that, that's about it. I mean, there's really not a lot that you can do with it. It's, what you can try to do is, the proportion of the different ingredients to try to do it. But this one is totally, like I said, it's totally unique. It's not a sweet sauce, which is good. And it's not really an overly spicy sauce, but it does have a little bit of kick, and it does have that savory influence to it. So when I make most of my barbecue, I don't sauce it. If I make ribs, I don't sauce it because I'm used to letting everybody else kind of pick what they like as far as sauce. To me is a condiment. It's not a cooking ingredient. It is something that you put on after. It's like, ketchup on a hamburger. I don't cook my hamburgers in ketchup. So, then that's just my thing. If I'm making a bunch of ribs, I've got 10 people over. I don't want to, have them have to eat the sauce that I decided to put on that day. I'll give them different options. And that's what I do. I take all those ones that people sent me and I'll stick them out on the table. But, so that's kind of where I come from. So I'm really, when I do see a unique sauce like this, and this is probably one of the only ones that I would actually use it as a basting sauce while I'm cooking, because it's not something to where, I want to make something where this is a unique piece of meat. Like I'm probably going to use it tonight on some pork tenderloins. And
beautiful.
And I've found that is one of my favorite things to put this on when, I'm sous videing it right now, and I'll take it out and I'll grill it to finish it off, and I'll baste it in the sauce while I'm grilling it.
Perfect.
And it combines with the, the char and everything else, and it makes it something totally different. So
we've over the years have done a lot of experimenting with it, and friends have too, and people that I've given it to, other cooks and barbecue people. But we like to say that you can marinate with it, you can baste with it, and you can use it as a dipping sauce across the spectrum for proteins. And it works well in so many vegetables, of stir frying so many vegetables with it. There's something about the balance of the sauce and the horseradish that doesn't hide a flavor as much as adds to it, and still lets you taste, whether it's Brussels sprouts or asparagus. The farm sauce adds an extra layer of flavor without hiding it, which always has surprised me given how strong horseradish is. But you stir fry shrimp, you will taste the shrimp, but you'll just know that there's something added to it on top.
Right. So, yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's the savory, the savoriness of it is what makes it where you can use it with everything. Because there's some things you just don't want to put sweet on, or you don't want to put really super spicy on, or, so.
So when you watching the repeat sales coming back, we do a lot of farmers markets up here, and I'm going on 20 months now, so my second year of farmers market. Even after COVID, we're still getting back to some sense of normalcy. The the people coming back and telling me what they've tried it on is half the fun of doing this. Some of them come up with ideas that we haven't come up with, and we're going to try to put those together and put them on the website. But the versatility of it, I think, is what is the most fun of watching people try it.
So when did you first start marketing this, and how did you go about getting ready to do that? Because I know bottling sauce is kind of, you got to go through a lot of hoops just to be able to, bottle sauce. It's not as easy as rubs, because rubs, you don't got to go through the health department and USDA and all that kind of stuff. With bottles of sauce, you do. So
that is very true. The FDA is involved. The government's involved. You have to develop a very big patience quotient, because none of it moves quickly in terms of the approval process. Probably in 2018, in March, I decided I was going to commit to this. And I literally went to a store here in Roswell, Atlanta Grill Company, who's a great, these guys are great
they're
guys.
Friends of mine. I'm really big fans of Gary and Jason and them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those guys really helped me get a start, because I literally made up a batch of sauce in my kitchen. I went to a local barbecue store and brought some ribs, some pulled pork, some brisket, and brought it to them and with my sauce and said, "Here, guys, here's lunch. Tell me what you think of this sauce." They ate it. They liked it a lot. And Gary, I said, if I go to market with this, will you put it on your shelf? And he said, absolutely. So that was the extent of my market research into the industry. And if you've been to their store, they have literally hundreds of rubs and the sauces on their shelf. I was going to join that crowd, but that gave me the confidence to say, well, I've got one guy that'll buy the sauce. So I went through the process of finding a bottler. That's not easy to do either, given there's not a lot of them, and they all want fairly large orders to start with. And if you're on a shoestring like we were and trying to be as fiscally conservative as possible, that was tough. Everybody wanted 100 cases to start with. And I found a fellow named Kenny Dasher, who ran a company called Serenity Farms, who agreed to do 50 cases. And we went down there, my daughter and I, and we literally sat in his kitchen, outdoor kitchen, and put the ingredients together and came up with the flavor that we wanted. He carved it in stone, as he said. Once he says, if you tell me this is what you want, this is what every batch is going to taste like after this. And he's been right, because we've gone through almost 500 cases now in 22 months. So he helped me a lot in being able to bring it to market without putting a lot of cash out there. So we got the first batch, brought it into Gary, and he was my first customer. And then it was just a question of literally schlepping it around town to a lot of other high-end barbecue stores. I wasn't going to get into Publix or Kroger. The price point isn't going to allow that. There's too many ingredients in there. And if you know anything about that end of the retail market, they take so much of your profit that you got to look at a lot of volume. And that wasn't where I was going to start out. But we've added about 8 or 9 nice stores around the Atlanta and the Roswell area. The market has been good for us, and selling online has been a really, really good experience. So we've had a lot of good success with that too.
Yeah, getting the word out there is the biggest thing. And I understand, trying to put it in Publix or Walmart, they control what your price can be too. Sure, a lot of times they tell you. I know that just talking to the guys from Masterbuilt, and some of the products that they've put in, that was their whole design for especially their new grill. When they designed this new, their charcoal grill, they pretty much had to put it to where it was at, $400 or $500, or Walmart wouldn't carry it. So they have to, look at that's where they're starting from. So, I know that it's not just what cut that they take, and they decide how much goes on the shelves and how much you got to send them before they, want to start paying you. And then they also could control what the price of it you can actually sell it for. So,
and there's a lot of things of you're going to pay a certain amount for certain types of shelf space too. So I don't regret that at all. And again, it'd be impossible for me to go into those retail stores just because of what my sauce costs to make. There's no way it could happen, and I'm fine with that. This is a specialty product. It's word of mouth. It's over the internet. It's through farmers markets, and we've been very pleased with the reorder rate that we've seen this year. This year started out a little slow, obviously, with COVID. We couldn't have any farmers markets for the first 4 months of the year. So we missed out on that. We're getting back to, like I said, some kind of normalcy, and people are coming back and saying, oh yeah, last year I loved it. Going to buy some more. So that's been fun. And we've got the whole family involved doing that.
So I know you're still kind of small right now, and you're still kind of getting your feet wet, and it's kind of hard with all the stuff that we've been going on this year. It's kind of, you picked the wrong time, but at least you had gotten going, right? So at least you got your supplier and bottler and went through all those hoops before before 2020 happened. So
right. No, we were selling all through. We launched in November of 18. So we had the whole year of 19 to sell and to build a base and build a customer base. And I was really, 2020 was going to be a great year for us. And it's turning out to be a much better year than I anticipated, given COVID. The last half of the year, I think, is going to come on real strong. But we missed out on a lot in the first part of the year. So that was, I was looking at bringing a rub out at that point. As you said, they're much easier to do and less expensive, and your margin is, quite frankly, a lot better on rubs.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got some friends that are willing to help me in the industry. And it's something I may do at the end of this year or first part of next. Right now, we're a one-product company. And,
that's always hard, too.
It's tough. It is tough. But at the same time, my good friend of mine I was talking to the other day, he likes Dickie Dale sauce on his steaks. I don't particularly care for it, but he said that's all they make is that one steak sauce. But they sell tons of it. So I guess if it's that popular, I don't know if the farm sauce will ever get like that, but I wouldn't mind having a rub. People like rubs a lot, and they're easier to make. So that's something, if we add something, it's going to be along the lines of a rub.
So if you add a rub, do you already have a flavor profile in mind? Would you try to do something that would complement the sauce or be similar to what the sauce would be in a rub form, like with the horseradish?
That's a very good question. And when I talk to people, I get mixed reactions on that. They say, you don't want to stray too far from what has made you successful, which in this case is the horseradish-based flavor. And some people, as you said earlier, don't do sauces, but they do rubs. They like to put rubs on. So I'd like to offer a rub that gives you the same experience without having to go to a sauce. But maybe I'll have two rubs. I don't know. We haven't got that far to. But to answer your question, I think it's going to be similar more than different to the sauce. Yeah, and it'll be the farm sauce rub. Keep it simple.
Well, and if you go along that same line, though, at least it's be different than what's already out there, and that's the thing you got going for you. You're not competing against, everybody else's all-purpose rub, which is salt, pepper, and garlic. How many salt, pepper, garlic rubs are on the market? A ton of them. If you go, like you said, Atlanta Grill Company, you go down their rub aisle, and they're, you could take every other one. It's probably very similar, and but they've got somebody else's, some other barbecue guy's name on it. And, and I got a friend of mine, John Setzler, he's got some rubs that he put together, but his are different than some of the others that Atlanta Grill Company has. And then,
John did cook for us last year.
And and they actually helped him, his rubs are, actually marketed by Atlantic Grill Company. They actually helped him hook up with Lane's to put those together. Mm-hmm. But all three of those rubs are different than what Lane's offers anywhere else, so it's, you got to kind of have something a little bit different than what's already out there, or you're just competing against, Malcolm Reed's rubs or, everybody else who's got won a barbecue competition,
grill.
Cosmo Q or whatever, all these guys that have, I try to test different rubs out, but I get kind of bored with them, and I make up my own most of the time. There's a couple that I like to use that because, they're easy to just grab it and not have to worry about it. But a lot of times I make up my own stuff. Mm-hmm. But there are things like if you did something like this where I don't happen to have powdered, horseradish, in my cabinet. It's kind of hard to find at the local grocery store or Costco. So there's some ingredients that, and I've always thought about too, putting together my own rub and getting some ingredients that you don't normally find, like powdered horseradish, or not horseradish, or Worcestershire, or there's other like ingredients that you could put into a rub that are very hard to find, locally, and you can't really buy, by the small amount. You got to buy them like in a 5 pound
in volume,
in a bulk. So, but I've always kind of looked at that as well. So when you got, like say, so you started out, you got Gary to start putting your stuff on the shelf. How long did it take you to actually start selling when you got everything done and ready to go? How long was it from the time of conception to your first bottle went up on the shelf?
That I can give you the exact date, because it was the Atlanta Grow Company did their biannual. This was right before Christmas and right after Thanksgiving, when they would have the Kamado Joe people come in and set up all the tents and set up all the Kamado Joes.
I was there that day. Didn't you see me?
Was it the rain? Was it the? That
yes.
Was, my God, the weather was horrible.
I was there for that one.
Still had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that came through. That was my first time on a shelf, and we sold. I think we did over a dozen cases that day. We moved a dozen cases through Gary's store. Yeah. And he's been my best customer, retail customer since then. He's reordered a lot of sauce. He says he gets a lot of reorders for it through the store, which is I'm really happy to hear, because he does a huge business on mail orders, you know, and he's a big Kamado Joe distributor. So that was again, we started in March, and then to end of November was the launch. So it took that long to get through the hoops and everything, build up my inventory, get the label the way I wanted it, and so I gave it a year, and we did it a little under a year. So that got us off to a good start. We got some reorders out of that, and then I went to other stores around the country, around the city. My daughters, again, have helped me tremendously on Facebook and Instagram through social media, and with the influencers. You get into one of these influencers, and if they like your product, your phone starts blowing up. It's been very interesting. I'm going to have to probably get some help with the shipping and packaging. So I'm doing all that out of my office. Right now,
how do you do your sales online? Because I don't see a way for you to order it online. Do you just people email you?
Oh, no. You go to thefarmsauce.com.
I'm looking at it right now. I don't see a way to
right
order
up at the top, it should say buy.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I'm sorry, I missed it.
My son-in-law is a computer programmer. He built the website for us, and we're going to make some changes in that too in the near future.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, you can. I ship all over the country, and I just took probably 60 boxes in the last 4 days to UPS to mail out, and it's getting to be a lot of work, but that's fine. That's just what we wanted to do, and I'd love to get to the point where I can maybe take a look at some kind of fulfillment house to start taking some of the slack.
So are you in the black now? I mean, how long did it take you to get in the black?
I exceeded the business plan in terms of being self-funding. So
well, that's good.
We're very happy about that. I've got my bottler just called. I just placed another 50 case order, and I'll pick that up Tuesday, and that'll put us right at about 525 cases that we've gone through him.
So once you actually you place that initial order, it's easier to get smaller orders done. Is that
we stayed at 50. We stayed at 50.
Okay.
My price break from him, I'd have to get up to triple that order. And it's not a question of I could move that amount of product in a relatively short period of time, but I don't have any place to put it.
Right.
It's in the dining room right now. That's the farm sauce room. We eat in the kitchen, and we don't use the dining room anymore. That's kind of the post office storage area for the sauce. And so it's a question of
space.
Where am I going to put it?
Yeah, and you don't want to have to store it somewhere and pay for storage, and it cuts into your profit. And
exactly.
When I had Malcolm Reed on my podcast, him and his wife last year, and we talked about that because he started off small like me, just doing like a little YouTube channel, and then he's grown into what he is now, and he's got rubs and sauces and all kinds of stuff, and his own podcast. But when they first decided to start making their own rub, they started with a rub because, like you said, it's easier. And but he had to order 400 cases, and he's like, and
That's a lot of work.
you got to come up with the money up front.
Sure.
And like you said, have a place to put it. I mean, he said he's like, they took a really big gamble doing that because not knowing if they were ever going to sell it, He said he had cases stuck in his garage, in his bedroom, in his spare room, in his kids' room, in the closets. He said they were all over the place. And he goes, thank God he was able to, sell it all. And, now he's, got no problem. But, when you're staring that in the face and you got all that money outlay and you don't know if you're going to be able to turn this into cash because it's the cost of that. It's the cost of your labels. I mean, you've got to get 3,000 labels because you got to stick them on the boxes. You got to put it on every bottle, and you get a price break on the labels. That's not bad, but you're still looking at a decent amount of cash up front before you ever see the first dime. So you have to be, hope and a prayer, but at the same time, like I said, we had a lot of help, a lot of friends. Gary was a big help with the grow company. The time of year we launched with the holidays, we were able to move a lot through the holidays for Christmas presents and stocking stuffers, things of that nature. So we went through it faster than we anticipated, and we were able to reorder probably right around February of 2019, February of 19. So, and like I said, we've been ordering very steadily since then. Very happy about that. So I think we talked about this before I started recording, but so you're retired now and this is your love. This is something you wanted to do.
And it's me up in the morning.
Yeah. And it's not something where you don't have the illusion that you're going to be a multimillionaire of, by selling this sauce, correct?
No, I mean, if it happened, great, but no, the ultimate business plan isn't to make a ton of money. This is a family business. I mean, I've started it, but because I traveled so much, as I said earlier, I feel fortunate at this point in my life. I'm going to be 69 years old in a couple months. I've got something now I can do with my family, with my daughters, with my wife, with my grandkids, because we're shameless. We'll put them in a commercial. We'll do anything with them because they're cute to sell the sauce. We have no shame about that. I'm fortunate in that I can do this at this point in my life. And that's what the main driving force is, to get the family involved. They're liking it a lot. They're enjoying it. And I'll leave it to them. But it's something I can leave to them. How big we get, Darren, I don't know. I've had 3 people. One is in the business tell me I need to go on Shark Tank, but I just don't see that happening. Again, I don't want to give up 40% of my business.
And I don't think that since you're already in the black, I mean, the only way I could see, and that's like trying to do a Kickstarter or something. If you already went through the initial investment and you're making money and not, in the hole every month on it.
Right.
Even if you wanted to do a rub or something, because rubs are, like you said, a lot easier to put together.
You can budget that.
You can budget that and not have to be beholden to somebody else, especially something like that. I mean, I watch those shows and I just go, I don't know why people would, especially when they're already an established business and, doesn't make sense to me to give up part of your business that you already established and put blood, sweat, and tears into for somebody to come in with a little bit of money and then he's going to take it over and run you out of it eventually or shut you down.
Put all cheaper ingredients in it. We won't do that. But the truth of the matter is, and looking into it a little bit, a lot of those people that don't give up their business or don't agree to do anything with the investors there, just the exposure of being on Shark Tank.
Definitely.
They'll through the roof. And my favorite Shark Tank story is the biggest one they said no to was the Ring doorbell concept.
Yeah.
They said no to that. All 4 of them said no to it. And look where it is today. So
exactly.
Multi-billion-dollar business. Yeah. We won't be there, but we'll still be doing it locally, across the country by mailing. But we're going to grow. It's just how big we get and how much time and energy we want to put into it is what's going to limit that.
Right. Well, and like you said, it could snowball. You get somebody that, gets it on the Food Network and all of a sudden, they do it part of their show. Man, I had this sauce. It's the best sauce. Things happen like that. You just never know who's going to grab a hold of grab a hold of your product and love it. And hopefully you'll get some people that will, check you out and order that are listening here, because it is, like I said, I don't have, I really don't try to push a whole lot of sauces or rubs. I do work with Fresh Jack seasonings because they have a good concept of what they're doing, and their stuff is all, organic and fresh. And I haven't had, and I make a lot of my own rubs out of their base ingredients, but but they're a good family run company too, that, they started out like you, really small, but now they're exploding because they make a really high quality product. And I have no problem talking about good family run, small entrepreneurs that are making really, really good products and that are different. That are not just the same thing that you can find on the shelf, all next to each other. So
that's what we're trying to be. And as long as we have fun doing it and I don't have to dip into the bank account again, we're going to keep doing it this way. And I really appreciate your support and let me come on and talk about it. It's been great. And
well, like I said, I told you at the beginning, my son loves the stuff. I mean, he pours it on everything, and he's kind of like me to a point where he doesn't like to cook, but he loves to eat, and he's very picky, and he's got a palate that, he's the one who wants to go to the higher priced restaurants and try the different stuff, but he doesn't like to cook. But he, once he gets something he likes, and like I said, he's kind of hard to please. He
probably likes a lot of grade 5 Wyuga, right?
yeah, he likes, everything, but he, like I said, he loves this stuff. Right. And when he saw the bottles come the other day, he was like, "Oh my God, thank goodness!" Because
let me know. Tell him I said thanks. Try it on scrambled eggs too. My grandkids love it on scrambled eggs.
Yeah, but I want everybody just to try it out. Check out. I'll put the website back up here one more time, just so people can see it, and I'll put it back to the homepage here. Yeah, it's the farm sauce. Go to thefarmsauce.com, and that's what the bottle looks like right there. And you do have to shake it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the stuff will settle. It's the horseradish. You can still see bits or chunks in it floating around in the liquid.
And like I said, once you have it, it's like I said, it's if people hear horseradish sometimes, so it scares them away. But this is not something that's going to knock you on your clear your sinuses, and it's something to where it's subtle and it's got a really good mouthfeel to it. Now on your website here, it says shake it up, heat it up, and pour it on. So do you recommend people put it on when they're cooking or when it's hot? Or?
Yeah, that came with one of the rib recipes I used to use. I would cook the ribs and with very little seasoning on them, and then get them ready to go, chop them up, and then take a bottle of farm sauce and put it in a gravy boat and heat it up. The heat really does do something to the flavor in terms of activates the horseradish in a different way, in a positive way. I really like the flavor when it's heated up. My couple of my kids take it right out of the refrigerator and pour it on whatever it is they're eating. I don't like it cold. I like it hot. I like it warmed up, room temperature at the very least. But the heat does seem to activate it. And I just was toying around with some kind of something to put on the label, and shake it up, heat it up, pour it on just came to me, and I said, that's what we're going to go with. So if you do that, that's the best way to use it.
Well, and I do know, like I said, when I do use it as a basting, when I'm cooking with it, it does taste a little different than when I'm just pouring it on something else. So
the horseradish and the heat, I don't know. And because we'll marinate chicken, I'll score a breast of chicken, put it in a bag, pour some farm sauce in, and let it sit for a couple hours. That flavor is going to be different than when we're basting it on the grill when the heat's activating the horseradish. So you get the best of both worlds.
Well, I want to thank you for being on, and I want to thank you for sharing how you came about with the farm sauce. And I want to make sure I'll put a link in the description below to the website. You can also find it at the Atlantic Grill Company, and they also sell it online at the atlanticgrillcompany.com, where you can also find all kinds of barbecue and outdoor cooking equipment and sauces and rubs. But thanks, Gary, for being on. I really appreciate it. anything else? Anything else you got
pleasure.
going on? Is it just that's it?
That is it. We're coming into the holiday season and going to be doing as many farmers markets as possible. Blue Ridge is an area that has a lot of good ones this time of year, so we'll be up there. And just follow us on the website. We're going to try to keep people appraised of where we are and when we're going to be doing our in-person farmers markets. And we're always selling on the web, though.
Have you talked as Gary or Jason said anything about if they're doing the?
They're not.
They're not going to do it this year in December.
They don't even know if they're going to do Father's Day next year. That's the other one they do on an annual basis is Father's Day.
Yeah, and they did it online. They did it virtual, and they still did a really good job with it. But I mean, it's not as fun as going there in person. And
that's a great experience when you watch Eric running around with 8 Kamados going and cooking stuff on there. They told me, I think I heard they spend $70,000 to $80,000 buying the meat and the fish and everything for that one cook that one day. That's a lot of food.
Yeah, and might be a little different anyway with the way Kamado Joe's, kind of changed since then anyway, since when me and you were there. Now, they didn't do it last year either. They did it last year in December.
Yes, we did it last year. We did it at Christmas, and then because everything hit the fan in January, basically, January, February. So, and that was we had a really good show that year too. And,
I didn't make it up for that one. So, but I heard it was a good time. Yeah. But all right, sir. Well, thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Everybody check out the Farm Sauce at thefarmsauce.com. And Gary, thanks for being on, and we will see you again. And I'm sure we'll enjoy your farm sauce. My son will have it for dinner tonight. So thank you, sir.
Thanks. And let me know if you need more. Take care, Derek.
All righty. Thanks. Well, thanks again for joining us on the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I want to thank Gary Bixler one more time at the Farm Sauce for being on. Make sure you check out the link to his website below. You can also find it at theatlanticgrillcompany.com. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast on YouTube and Facebook. See you on the next Fire and Water Cooking Podcast.